Meow. Let's see who is crazy enough to listen to me today. Let's see what's happening here. Now this one, take it off. Blah blah blah. Okay. Where is gonna be the stopwatch? The stopwatch we can put here. Welcome everyone. It is 3 p.m. and it's time for the server room show. This is episode 22. Thank you for SDF Public Unix Access System for hosting the server. I will try to be quick because I got some feedback finally, and one of the feedback I got was that I spent too much time on this introduction section of the podcast. So I set up a website, Victor Madaras, as my name, Victor Madaras with K and SZ in the end, .freeshell.net, where you can find all the links and information and how to contact and what number to call if you want to call in. So it's Victor with K, the kilo in the middle, so it's not with C, and Victor Madaras, SZ in the end, .freeshell.net. The ones who looking at on the watching the video cast on Twitch, I left a link there on the bottom of the video what they are looking at, so you can check your spelling. So that's about the intro. If you want to know the links and where to call in, you can find it there. And as I said, the new time slot is 3 p.m. UTC time. Today's topic is 9 tools which you can use for during this period of lockdown for working from home during this COVID-19 outbreak and global lockdown. Actually, originally it was an article I found which said 10 open source tools working from home, but I mixed it up a little bit and I included perhaps one or two which at least one which is not open source, but still can be useful. And as you know, when you're working from home, companies tend to use many times applications which are not either not open source or not so popular. How to say? We can start with the one and only, which I think is the one which is not open source on the list. Microsoft Teams are now available for a while on Linux. Actually, it's good in a sense that I don't need to run a separate virtual machine with Windows just to be able to connect to Teams, because, for example, the place where I work, we are more and more being integrated into Teams, and actually what will happen at some point that before we rolled out Teams in the company, we were using Cisco Jabber for those voice over IP calls, and they started to roll out in parallel Jammer and of course Cisco the calling function of Cisco also allows chatting. So that what was always there, and they started to roll out this team aspect and social media aspect with Jammer, but then suddenly they switched over, and now Teams is overtaking pretty much the functions which we did with Cisco Jabber and the other social network one, the Jammer. So Teams becoming the one and only tool for chatting, for sharing files, calendars, conducting meetings with video also, and pretty much soon most probably we will switch over the voice over IP functionality also for those outgoing outgoing calls, so there is not gonna be much more need anymore for Cisco Jabber. So that's why it's good to see that Microsoft Teams is available now on Linux platform, at least. By default, it comes for Debian and RPM packages, which is good because it covers the two main ones. And like I said, I don't need to suffer anymore with a virtual machine or connect through VMware Horizon, which would be another tool I actually wanted to mention, but I didn't include on the list. I use Horizon, VMware Horizon for Linux for quite a long time now, and as we have virtual machines, virtual desktop environments, so I can just connect from Linux using Microsoft Authenticator on the phone, and that's like it's a second factor authentication, and like that is I don't need to carry a company laptop or anything. I can just open up any of my own devices and connect to company desktop, where I have access to all my tools. As we are heavy on Microsoft, even our desktop and documents and all these things are synced back to through OneDrive, so it's useful. I can use my own operating system. I can use Linux, and with the help of Teams now for Linux and VMware Horizon for Linux, I can access everything I need to access to work from home. But probably for many of you need some more things, and just these two wouldn't be enough, or probably your company uses something else. So if you need some other tools, the one I was using lately and find it very useful is, I probably pronounce it wrong, Jitsi Meet video conferencing. It's open source, and it's possible to self-host. It is not the Zoom video and the Zoom meetings, which nowadays there are a lot of controversy about their privacy issues surrounding it and everything. So it is not that one. It's video conferencing. I really like that it's self-hostable. It is completely free, so if you don't wanna suffer with setting it up, you can just go to their website, and you don't need to create an account. You need to log in. You don't need to do any of those. You just come up with a phrase, whatever it can be, to create that meeting URL. You can after share with your participants or your fans you want to have the video chat with. It can be just a phrase like, I don't know, I use Linux, or I want to install FreeBSD, or whatever, except special characters or underscore and these kind of things. And it immediately opens up video chat, video conferencing, and you can share this link with your friends and your colleagues. You can set a PIN code or a password to protect the meeting and make sure that only the people who you want to allow will join to this meeting. There is also a recording function at the moment, at least because the Jitsi Meet website, when you use it through their own portal, it runs on their own servers, not on your self-hosted instance. For their own, I only saw Dropbox integration for video recording the meeting. I don't know if there is any other possibility to record the meeting without Dropbox, like, I don't know, for example, using your own nextcloud instance, or even recording locally. I don't know, because I didn't check, but I would hope that on the self-hosting option, when you host it for yourself, you would have more options. and with a recording function, and it even has a beta function for blur, which works more or less. And you can select the video quality if you want high def or standard definition. There is also a small section for chatting or sharing a link or whatnot. And you can set the layout of how you want the other participants to be shown. So if you want a tile layout, or if you want to only 4 and the rest to be on a strip on the bottom, it's very nice. It is using when you do the meeting, you can also edit some documents together, and for that it uses Etherpad. And one of the tools of actually Etherpad itself, it's on my list, so you will get to know a bit more about it. So this is Jitsi Meet, and I start to use it more and more. And unlike Zoom with its free tier or free session, there is no time limit, neither on the amount of participants nor on nor any time limit like 45 minutes on the Zoom one. The second one, no, third actually, OpenBoard for presentation and whiteboarding. It's very good. I found it by accident when I was trying to Google some other thing, and I came across OpenBoard, which is a pretty full-fledged whiteboard, a digital whiteboard, which you can run on your computer. And one of the thing I liked most about it, that you can record it, and then after you can share that recording with others, or you could use it in a live session. Like, imagine if I do a previously mentioned Jitsi video meeting, I could be presenting with OpenBoard what I see on my screen, and like that I could incorporate OpenBoard on my presentation or on my video meeting, and I could record it and I could share it with others. It has everything the typical whiteboard things have, and apart from that, it's even open source. So I think it's a good idea to go and check it out. I really want to use it more when it comes to a more serious setting, when I need to present something. And actually I was checking that I have a very simple, very old, very stupid little whiteboard, and I don't know if it was because it was not calibrated, but I would say 80% it immediately worked with my whiteboard and pencil, and I'm sure if I would have spent some more time on it, I could have made it work even more perfect, and then really I could just write or draw on my small drawing tablet, and make it display properly on OpenBoard. Or even if it's a simple to get a newer and more supported this whiteboard thing for the computer with USB, I don't think it's a big investment. I think for around 60 euros, I'm sure you could find one, or maybe even cheaper. I never really checked, to be honest. So I mentioned Etherpad, which Jitsi Meet also uses for edit and share documents with others. It is also open source, and self-hosting is also possible. It looked very nice, to be honest, when I looked at it. You can either self-host it. I think Windows and Linux was Windows, Linux, and Macintosh were the platforms which appears to download and to do the self-hosting. Or you can just go to their website and use their own instance, what they are hosting, just like it happens with Jitsi. It gives you a list of public instances of Etherpad, hosted Etherpad. On their, actually they use their GitHub page to share this information, and you can just pick any from the list, and you don't need to suffer and self-host it for yourself. And as I said, it's for sharing documents and edit documents online. Most probably it's not as full-fledged as the OnlyOffice instance I spoke about previously, what I use for doing Office compatibility, document editing, Excel, PowerPoint, and Word documents online in a self-hosted instance I'm running, or on a mobile or on a desktop client. And also it has a section for projects, so you can run your own projects, you can invite people, you can assign tasks and deadlines, share files. So it's OnlyOffice is much more complete and complex in this sense. But if you need something simple, you can use Etherpad, and which is kind of like goes hand in hand with Etherpad. Is with this notepad-ish instance is Ethercalc, which is a web spreadsheet. So you could use it online to work on spreadsheet. You don't need to suffer neither with LibreOffice, neither running a Windows virtual machine for running Excel in it. You can use it immediately online, or of course it has the option to be self-hosted as well. Install and yeah, you can self-host it. So Ethercalc and Etherpad, the two together, I think it can be a good alternative if someone doesn't want to get into such a big suite as OnlyOffice, and perhaps for you it's not important to have Office compatibility, and you say, look, I just want something like Etherpad, which is just an online or a self-hostable kind of like a notepad kind of thing, where I can just edit text with those basic things, like I can put the text in bold and italic and underline and strike out, and I don't need any big thing. I don't need Office compatibility. I really just need, as the name suggests, kind of like a notepad online, which I can self-host or they can host for me. And Ethercalc is the same. If you don't worry about compatibility with big tools like Office, or perhaps if you don't need it, then something simple and quick, when the need arises, you can just go away, get away with these two tools, so you can make your jog your notes and make some simple Excel kind of spreadsheet whenever needed. So that was Etherpad and Ethercalc. I did mention Nextcloud, I know, in previous episodes. I have a small Nextcloud instance hosted by myself. I used their possibility to self-host it in a Docker container, so I didn't go as far as self-hosting it with a whole bells and whistles from the bottom. And this this Docker instance they provide is very good. I pretty much use it for the shared calendar exclusively at this moment, but it is indeed can be, if you want, you can still use the Docker instance if you want, or install it using their wiki page, installing it from zero on your own server, and create a real Dropbox alternative for your files and for the calendaring. It also comes with some of the OnlyOffice as a form of like a plugin, so you could already try out OnlyOffice when you go ahead and build nextcloud for yourself, for storing the files or for the shared calendar. I also have written down another notes and to-do application, which is joplinapp.org. The good thing in this one was that if you combine it with the reason I mentioned Nextcloud, if you combine it with Nextcloud or Dropbox or something similar, you can take care of the synchronization of those notes and to-dos across the rest of your devices. So I think it's good, and that was the reason why I mentioned Nextcloud also. Or if not, you can just use Dropbox or OneDrive or a simple WebDAV protocol for backing these notes up and make sure it's accessible from another device. I mentioned that it's free and open source, and it's like a notebook, note-taking application, and it seems very nice, to be honest. It's already a bit more than Etherpad, which I mentioned previously was. So it's kind of like a step up with its to-do and the synchronization and everything. But it doesn't mean that Etherpad or Ethercalc would be bad for the spreadsheets. I also have Riot team chat written down. It's also open source. You can self-host it, or you can go and pay for a hosted instance. They have their own brand, so to say, modular.im, which hosts riot.im instance. You could pick your hostname, like I don't know, like victormadaras.riot.im, and you could host your Matrix compatible. It uses the Matrix protocol for chat, calls, and even video. It uses the same underlying open source technology like Jitsi video conferencing uses. That's one of the reasons why I included it. And I never went as far as self-hosted myself, though right now I am thinking if I should go ahead and self-host the Jitsi video conferencing for myself, or do the Riot team chat, because the Riot IM, indeed it has proper chat functionality like IRC or whatnot, while in the video conferencing in Jitsi it's just it's a common chat. You can share 2 links or 3, and with Riot IM you can also pull in other communities. You can bridge them through, and you can use one single Riot IM chat room to bring all those different feeds in. So right now I'm inclined a bit more towards Riot IM, but as I didn't try their video chat and video call or voice call function, and I did try Jitsi's one, and I know that it works, and it works perfectly. Right now, until I don't check a bit more about Riot team chat, how it handles video conferencing, and perhaps what the recording options it has, because that's one of the main features I like in Jitsi, and actually I will use it as early as next Monday to record an interview. And that was pretty much my last point, which I wrote down, was to take advantage this lockdown situation worldwide. One of the things you can do is do something new, or try something new, and perhaps you didn't give a chance to Linux or BSD yet, and maybe it's time, because anyway we are all logged in, there is not much else we can do, so why not get rid of Windows and try Linux or BSD. Both of them are free and open source, no problem with licensing, and really Linux and both BSD came pretty long way compared to where they were many years ago, and really every day the gap is more narrow when it comes to something you cannot realize on Linux or on BSD, or perhaps there is no alternative software piece of application to realize that thing you want to do, and you say, no, I must run Windows because that one specific application I'm using, it is only available on Windows, and there is no alternative for me on Linux or on BSD. So this gap and this occurrence every day, it is more narrow and more further in between to occur. And I mentioned that I will use Jitsi video conferencing for use the recording function in it. I think that next Saturday, on this new 3 p.m. UTC slot, I can, if I manage to record properly on Monday, I can share the interview I'm about to make with George Neville Neal, who is on the FreeBSD kernel developer team. He's running it. He's also on the FreeBSD Foundation as director, and he's pretty much involved with FreeBSD and even BSD back from the days when Windriver took over, and he also worked on VxWorks and pretty interesting things. So I tried to conduct an interview with him on Monday. I wrote up some questions, hopefully interesting ones and serious ones, so it's not about what's your favorite color and this kind of childish stuff. And hopefully I will be able to, if I'm not gonna be able to keep it in 30 minutes in length, then in worst case scenario I can make a 2-part episode out of it, and I can share it with you guys. Some new thing like this, like doing a talk or an interview with someone who probably you guys are also interested to hear from. As I mentioned in the beginning, on the website victormadaras.freeshell.net you can check the Twitch TV recording of the show, or the PeerTube instance of the video to check your spelling. There is all the information regarding the time when the show is at 3 p.m. UTC time. The website also detects your local time, and it shows you how is it comparing to UTC, and even shows you when the next episode is, and which it says, for example, now it says episode 22. It's happening now, but it will say episode 23, and it will say how many hours or how many days while it happens, and it shows your time zone also with the links for the live video feed and audio only listening and contact details and everything I mentioned, to be able to keep the intro shorter and not steal time. So thank you very much for listening, for everyone, also the people who listens to this in a form of a podcast, and see you next Saturday at 3 p.m. UTC time in this new slot. Take care.